The NBA playoffs gave us some insane moments on the court, but off the court, the real game was in the sneakers. Some brands missed the mark, other brands built a legacy. What's up, y'all? I'm Derek, the marketing point guard. Before we get into this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Also, drop a comment with your favorite playoff sneaker moment. Now I'm gonna rate the top 5 sneaker brands that showed up and who got left behind. Number 5 is Jordan brand. They came into the NBA postseason fresh off a high from the Final Four. In the championship game, they had Florida and Houston, both Jordan schools playing against each other. Now, we all become familiar with the championship ad that airs after the game. And with Jordan having both teams, they went ahead and aired that before the game even started, which was a huge flex. Kind of alluding to their championship pedigree, which obviously started with Jordan and trickled on down the line to last season when Tatum won the championship in the NBA. And, heading into the playoffs, it looked like they might have another moment. Luka, since getting traded to the Lakers, they were playing excellent and worked their way up to the 3 seed in the West. Tatum and the Celtics, everybody's picked to go back-to-back for the first time in this new parity era. But the playoffs didn't do them any favors on the court. And the Lakers got quickly wrapped up by the Timberwolves, and then Tatum missed a couple games in the first round. Some poor performances at home against the Knicks, but when he finally started cooking in Game 4, he unfortunately tore his Achilles. So, you can only go as far as your athletes take you, and with their 2 signature guys kind of wiped out, there wasn't really anything for Jordan Brand to rally behind or create any energy for, so that's why they're in the 5th spot. Number 4, we got Nike. The check, the swoosh. These guys, again, their signature athletes didn't do them any favors. Now, they started off with the high note. The Ja 3s were unveiled officially, and from the design nature to some behind-the-scenes cuts, there was a lot of good momentum and energy around this shoe. Just because, Ja's had his off-the-court issues, but coming back to the spotlight, having a year we stayed on the court for the most part, limited his off-court distractions, this shoe was kind of like his coming back party, and it's a bold design. Like I said, I love the way that the swoosh is inverted to match with kind of that A on the midsole to create the Ja. It was really just sharp execution and a nice unveil for the playoffs. Now, he responded by getting swept by the Thunder and unfortunately getting hurt in Game 3. So there wasn't much to go on there. Again, mentioned with same problem with Luka. LeBron got wiped out in a gentleman sweep, and similar, Giannis on the other side didn't get anything done. And their other signature athletes, Book and KD, didn't even make the playoffs. So once your signature athletes are kind of wiped out, there's not much you can do. But I do think Nike, this is where they flex their strength in numbers and the fact that their bench and their roster is deeper than everybody else's. And so they were able to have some moments kind of highlighting Brunson's performances in the first round and that huge shot he hit against the Pistons in Game 5. As the Knicks sort of progressed, they are very heavily, they have a strong influence in the New York market. They even have their own Nike NYC handle. So they did some unique copywriting stuff from that front and just kind of celebrating the fact that, they got Brunson, Hart, Cat, and Bridges, 4 of the 5 starters are Nike athletes in New York. So they did some cool copywriting things around that and, kind of leverage those moments to get the word out and kind of keep their energy going. And then once the Knicks dropped off, they kind of leaned more heavily into their OKC roster, which includes Chet and Hartenstein. So Nike's always going to give you some strong copy. They didn't get the big time win, so they couldn't really give us any bigger moments than what they did on social. So that's why they landed in the 4th spot. Number 3, Puma. Their postseason marketing can be summed up as better late than never, because honestly, it was looking bad for Puma. They had this once in a lifetime moment with Halliburton, and the things that him and the Pacers were doing in the postseason are unprecedented. Every round there was some historic comeback. He had the overrated angle and was in real time proving every hater wrong. And Puma really didn't show up to the party. And then their first effort was a t-shirt that was so bad, it's like you can't even make fun of it because it was just awful. And it was baffling to see them kind of fumbling this moment and all this energy that they could have been charging and building towards Halliburton. And then they struck lightning in a major way. They had Salehi unveil the designs right before game one, and then Halliburton went on and did another crazy historic thing by hitting a game winner in comeback fashion against the Thunder. And, he was parading around the shoes at the press conference, rocking them pregame. And it was just, that moment alone is what catapulted them to number 3, because honestly, I would have put them at number 5 if not for that. But that moment was so dope. And, probably one of the best first games in a signature shoe that we could, definitely in recent history. The only other ones that come to mind are probably like the Last Shot 14s that Jordan wore against Utah in '98. Obviously, such an iconic moment, his last championship, and everybody thought his last game ever. So it's going to be kind of impossible to beat that. But for Halliburton to hit a game winner in game one in the first time wearing his shoes, that's the stuff you dream about in the boardroom when you're kind of writing up your marketing campaigns and your plans. So for them to get that moment, it kind of absolved them of all of their other shortcomings. So sometimes it's better to be lucky than great, but also when you are lucky, you got to maximize and capitalize on it. So shout out to Puma for that. They land at number 3. Now, number 2, Adidas. Adidas came into the postseason with a lot of hype. They're sort of carrying the torch right now for instant marketing and great branding and marketing campaigns around sneakers. Obviously, at the head of that is Anthony Edwards with the Believe That campaign that now went through 2 full seasons. And I like that, right? I don't think you should be switching it up. If it ain't broke, don't break it. So Adidas coming in with Anthony Edwards, you knew they would be onto something. Last year, they kicked off the postseason with, some custom spots and unveiling the low version of the AE1s. And leaks happened at an earnings call about the AE2s. It seemed like, hey, this might be a moment for them to unveil the new sneaker officially, maybe have them wear it for another potential finals run. So kind of all eyes were on Adidas in that front. And they kind of stuck to the AE1 lows, which is fine. With each round, they took a shot at Nike once the Timberwolves eliminated the Lakers, calling Anthony Kingslayer, which was, timely, cool. And then, just minimal graphics again for the Thunder when they took out Joker. Just kind of being creative with the copywriting, being timely, being in the moment. Those are always good ways to stay relevant as you're kind of building the storyline and the art. I love what they did for J-Dub after the finals with the grills with the Adidas logo and his logo. And what elevates Adidas to number 2 is outside of the copywriting and the visuals they were able to put together, they put product into the marketplace. Now, all of these marketing moves and building of the hype and telling the stories is ultimately to get people to buy. And you can't get people to buy anything if it's not available. And so where Adidas shined was they were able to put J-Dub's Harden Volume 9 PEs into the marketplace and have them for sale during the finals. Something that the other brands weren't necessarily able to do as they were unveiling new sneakers. So they get brownie points for that, and that's what lands them at number 2 on the list. There is a clear number 1, and that is Converse. And they did this all with one athlete, and that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he is the athlete. Very rarely do you get a star having a breakout season as he is premiering his debut signature sneaker. And that is the kind of marketing nirvana, again, you dream of, and this thing was executed flawlessly. The only other time I could think something similar to this happening was, I think, Steph Curry's Curry 1s, where he had just got those as the Warriors won their first championship and his first MVP. So similar rise, similar arc there. But, when you have SGA winning literally every individual award that you can in the postseason, league MVP, first team All-NBA, wins Western Conference Finals MVP, and then ultimately Finals MVP, right? That's stuff you can't plan for. He had to go on the court and do what he had to do, and he delivered with his team as NBA champions. And with that, Converse was able to execute one of the best campaigns I've ever seen, in real time, with each round debuting a new colorway of his shoe and him just really excelling and showing the versatility of the product. Shea is known for his fits and his style, and they're really trying to create a crossover shoe. So to have him performing on the court to the peak of his powers and at the best of his abilities is a great sign for the product. And then you have him off the court showing his fits and his style and how he integrates that. So not only did he wear each colorway in every game on the court, he wore it off the court as well. So that's just a huge plug and a huge promo for this shoe, and great visibility in that way. And then you get the iconic product placement. After they win the final game, and he's now rocked 4 different colorways throughout the playoffs, you get the 5th and final one that's an all gold pair that he kind of rocks over his neck like a gold medal. Like, again, they bodied this from this colorway rollout to even when he won the MVP. They had projections all over Oklahoma City with his logo. So you get out of home, you get on court, you get digital, you get social, just flawless. One critique that you could have against this campaign is that this is a lot of energy, a lot of momentum for a product that doesn't touch hands until the fall. Now, the production timeline is determined by a ton of things, right? Like, fall is usually the time to release basketball shoes because the market for these is typically kids, and they're going back to school and they're starting to get product for their upcoming seasons. So you want to have fresh product in the market for that moment. And so fall makes sense in that front, but when you have all this energy happening in the spring, early summer, how do you bridge that gap? So that's probably the one complaint you could have about this campaign, is that, hey man, it's so much excitement, so much energy. We want to get our hands on it and we can't really. But they were able to even solve for that after the championship parade, having a pop-up in Oklahoma City where, first come, first serve, kind of scavenger hunt style. People were finally able to get their hands on it. There was limited quantities, but again, that just helps to build the hype. And now you're seeing real people with it. It's not just SGA or Drake or his cousin with the shoes. Like, you actually get some real people in them, and that just helps to build the momentum. And then they also had a pop-up happen at Paris Fashion Week. So we're starting to get this thing in hand, and you couple that with the marketing they've been doing, there is no other answer for number one than Converse. So I'm excited to see how they continue to tell this story once the season starts back up and as these shoes now start to release to the public. Curious to see what that rollout cadence ends up looking like. And that's the list. I think with the way that the season shook out, there was no other way that Converse wasn't going to be in that number one spot. They too took home a chip along with Shea and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So let me know what you guys think. If there was any sneaker moments that happened that I missed or that you liked, make sure you drop it in the comments. And if you like this kind of content where we talk about basketball culture, marketing, and things that are happening around the game, please hit me with a like, a follow, and also share it with the people. Always trying to grow the community so I can keep bringing you guys fun and engaging content like this. Until next time, I'm Derek, the marketing point guard, helping you see the floor a little bit clearer. Catch y'all next time.